Well, I'm here on Facebook Live and YouTube with Ted Semper of hisair.net. Ted, I was following you while you were at the NRB, and it seemed
Hmm.
that there was a lot of exciting things happening. Tell us a little bit about how that week was.
Oh yeah, Andrew, good to be with you tonight. Yeah, NRB is just is a really good time. Um, I may have missed a few over the last 20 years, but maybe here and there. But this year it was 2 weeks ago, March 8 to 11, Nashville at the Gaylord. Now, if you ever been to the Gaylord Hotel, place is huge, man. Let me tell you, at the end of that week, you are pretty much worn out. Actually, every day you're worn out. We just have a booth where we kind of, you know, me and my wife, handle the booth and people come by and we just love to get out there and say hello. We met so many new people, and you see a lot of the same people that come by from all kinds of Christian radio stations primarily. But of course, we see some TV people. Of course, they're there, but I mean, His Air specializes in Christian radio, so we, of course, are going to see more radio people. But it's always a good time, and they had a record attendance this year. I think it was near 3,500 people in Nashville this year, and yeah, it's always a good time. Loved it.
So, what about a memorable experience for you while you've been at NRB?
This year specifically was we did some like Facebook Live interviews, some similar to what you're doing tonight, but we just did them, kind of impromptu kind of things when people stopped by. We were fortunate to talk to Bill Reeves, who's the CEO at EMF. Of course, they operate K-Love and Air One, plus some other things they've got their hands in, of course, and who just, by the way, just today bought a San Jose, California radio station, another big market that'll be turning, has been a country station for a long, long time. And now it's going to be K-Love here pretty soon, I suppose. But nevertheless, we, got to talk to him, talk to Bill, ask him a few questions. Didn't have enough time. I could have asked him about 1,000 questions, but that was fun. Seeing some of the artists that came by. We had some independent Christian music artists. Jen Bostic came by, Dupree, which is a mother and son duo from Orlando. Paul Good, who's an independent artist we work with he's out of Nashville, Tennessee, and he came by. Just a whole slew of other people, including Brian Hansen. Familiar with Brian Hansen? He came by for a memorable little time on Facebook Live with us. So yeah, it's I wouldn't say just one thing in particular, but it's really just getting in front of people and giving them a hug and shaking their hands, and because with the pandemic and everything, we didn't have anywhere to go for a while. Of course, NRB hasn't really missed a beat, but I think the attendance was down over the last couple of years. And then, of course, we have Momentum. That happens in November with Christian music broadcasters, and that'll happen again this June. So it's always good to be out there with the people and, meet who we serve, which is Christian radio and records.
That's awesome. So, give us a little background about how hisair.net came about.
Yeah, His Air, in case you're not familiar, is a trade publication specifically for Christian radio and the Christian radio and records industry. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. So we launched in 2002, and I came out of secular radio myself. Was a Christian, but working in secular radio for a number of years as a disc jockey and on-air announcer and a program director at various stations and markets around the country, and was always familiar with the trade publications. I don't know if you are, like radio and records was always a thing, and Friday Morning Quarterback. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. But when I went to work at a Christian radio station here in Baton Rouge, where we're located, and I was working there, and I was looking for the Christian trade publication that would serve the industry that I was going to be a part of, and I really couldn't find it. There were some trades that were out there, but they were more music oriented, and they didn't really update on a day-to-day basis. So I was actually talking to somebody from another trade publication about getting them to cover Christian radio, which they eventually did. But through that conversation with them, I decided to launch my own website. So basically, it's a digital trade publication, and we launched in 2002, like I said, and serve the Christian radio and records industry, primarily with information that people working at radio stations can use. Of course, news from all the different radio stations. We get pictures from different promotional events, appearances when artists come by the radio stations and, may take a picture, or stations out and about doing a benefit or, an appearance in the community for whatever reason. So we promote our publish all that kind of content and interviews with program directors, on-air talent, managers, owners, consultants. Every week we have a different interview. We also have some guest articles that we publish every week. We have a different writer and some of the people who contribute on a regular basis. But we'll accept article from pretty much anybody who wants to contribute and thinks they have something to say to the industry, for whatever reason, if they feel led. And so it's anything that we feel is content for the industry as a whole, Christian radio. And it's not just contemporary Christian music. Of course, there's a lot of stations like that. It's Southern Gospel. There's a lot of ministry teaching radio stations, conservative talk stations. Salem, of course, is a Christian owned and operated company. It has a number of those format stations. So we pretty much covered all, and we're always looking for more information. So if you are with a radio station, a Christian radio station, maybe never heard of His Air. I don't know. We've been around 20 years, but we're still always picking up new people. And I'm specifically talking to maybe the Southern Gospel format. We're trying to reach out, more over the last couple years or so, really, and be more connected with some of the Southern Gospel stations. And if you got news, something going on at your station, that whether it's a new personality, somebody left, somebody joined your team, whatever the case may be, like I said, promotional pictures, send them off to us, and we'd love to share them with the industry, because that's what we do.
You mentioned one of my favorite towns I've never got to visit, Baton Rouge.
Oh, really?
And I tell you, the reason why I love it is because of the swaggarts that are there. Man,
okay.
I want to be able to attend their church one day, man. They got some great preaching down there.
Yeah, of course, Jimmy Swaggart. Some people, when they, hear I'm from Baton Rouge. I'm not from Baton Rouge, but that's where we are now. This is Jimmy still alive? I'm like, yeah, Jimmy's still alive. Of course he is. I mean, I think Brother Swaggart is in his mid 80s, 85, 86. And I actually used to work for the ministry for a good while, my wife as well. And I was the operations manager there for the TV radio network up until 2019. So I helped put that Sun Life Broadcasting Network on the air back in 2010, and then also the radio network that they have, Sun Life Radio, as well. But maybe you can make it down into Baton Rouge, and if you do, of course, get a hold of me. Love to take you to dinner or something, but try not to come. I don't know if you like hot weather. I mean hot and humid weather, okay? Because June, end of May, really, May, June, July, August, September, Andrew, it's going to be hot and humid. That's just what
way here in South Carolina. I mean,
yeah. Well, yeah. In the summertime in Louisiana, you're not going to see, the southern Louisiana, you're not going to see people outside in the summertime too much, except for people like me who are basically a Yankee who moved down here years ago. But, I take the hot weather over the cold snow any day.
So what really drew you to radio, working in radio?
Well, I think, I was in secular radio, which is what I got into first. I mean, I was interested, Andrew, when I was, I think like fourth grade, and growing up in the Chicago area, listening to all the big Chicago radio stations back then, the top 40 stations. And I didn't really care about the music. I didn't want to necessarily play that kind of music or this kind of music. It was more of just being on the air and being a disc jockey, a radio personality. That's what drew me into it. And I remember playing disc jockey when I was, like I said, about fourth grade, and asking my mom to take me up to the local radio stations and around the area, and then into Chicago. And I think, you just like wanted to be one of those guys on the radio. I guess it just gets in your blood, and it did with me at a very young age. And, I still love radio. Of course, I do a little bit here and there, but once it's in your blood, it's hard to just walk away from it. And it's different now, of course, than this was in the mid 70s, but I mean, just changed dramatically over probably the last 15 years, the most. But, with ownership and the way things are all centralized, and it's just, it's totally different. There's really not a whole big group of young people who are getting into radio, not just Christian radio, but any radio, broadcasting for that matter, at least as an on-air talent, because it seems like most of the air talent are network located or syndicated. So it doesn't leave a lot of room for somebody to get an overnight shift in Paducah, Kentucky, and, learn your ropes and make your mistakes when maybe there's only a few people listening, like I did, But it just got into blood, Andrew, and just never looked back, I guess.
That was the same thing for me when I got started,
Mm-hmm.
from watching shows like the Today Show and Oprah Winfrey and shows like that, the interview styles that they would do. I was like, man, I really want to interview people one day. I have a desire to
Mm-hmm.
interview people one day. And it all began for me at the age of 15 on WZCT out of Alabama. It was a 5,000 watt radio station.
Mm-hmm.
And it played primarily Southern gospel, which I play just about anything now, but it plays Southern gospel. My first interview ever was Adam Crabb, and man, I'll never forget that experience. It was just amazing. And I mean, I've had preachers on my show from the Swaggart Ministries as well. Recently, I had Dr. Dave Watts about 3 months ago, I believe it was, and he's a very great guy too.
Yeah. So that's your thing. You like to interview, like you're doing that. So I guess what motivated you to start this show here on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've recently placed my application into the National Religious Broadcaster. So I'm crossing my fingers and hoping I get accepted into that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you don't have to be a member to go, to the NRB, but it'd be nice if you're a member and, took advantage of all those benefits by being a member of NRB.
Yeah, I see there were so many great people there this year. I wish I could have been there. Sadie Robertson is like one of my favorite all-time people, and I seen that she was there and led a workshop.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I didn't get to see her, with having a booth on the exhibit floor. I'm pretty much going to be there, the most of the time, especially in the daytime during the exhibit hour. So, but I did see that she was there, and I didn't. You didn't get to, of course, you weren't there, but I haven't heard anybody. I haven't talked to anybody who saw her myself. I just seen a few pictures, probably like you have.
Yeah. So, was there anybody memorable that you bumped into at NRB?
It's a TV guy, and his name is Jerry Rose. Okay, and are you familiar with Jerry Rose? He's a longtime Christian TV host. And growing up in Chicago, he was on Channel 38 in Chicago back in the 70s. Okay. And I've seen him at NRBs in the past, but never really had an opportunity to talk to Jerry. And I'm guessing at his age, he's probably in his 80s right now. But he was walking the exhibit floor, and he stopped at our booth and just started asking me about, how I had the little hookup with for Facebook. I just had a little thing, and he was asking all kinds of questions and about that. And, actually, got to talk to him on Facebook Live briefly, but that was a treat. I know he's, maybe not known to radio people, but to me and others, remember him from way back in the day in the 70s when he was on this station, and can't remember the name of the program, but he says he still does it now online, and he's not in Chicago anymore. He's located in warm Florida, sunny Florida is where he is now. It was great meeting him.
Seems like all the people up north like to come down south when it gets hot and muggy.
Yeah, well, I get it when you're in the north through the winter. When it comes March, April, you're ready to take a trip and get out of that weather as much as possible.
And us in the South, I mean, we like to go up north where it's
Hmm.
cold after it's
Right.
been so hot for so long.
Right. Like I'm trying to plan a trip to Chicago right now, but I wait until maybe May, April, May, June, possibly, because summers in Chicago are beautiful. And being a lifelong Cubs fan, I've got to go to Wrigley Field. Haven't been there in a couple of years, but I'm gonna try to make it to Wrigley this summer for sure.
So, what's a memorable interview that you've got to do for his air?
Oh, for his air, let's see. I think the one that sticks out in my mind, comes to my mind first, is Mike Novak, who is formerly, he's retired now, but he was with EMF K Love for guessing about 20 something years. I think about 20 years, maybe a little, maybe more, like 25. And when he retired, which was just the year before last, I believe, he was the CEO. And I think he started out as like music director, air talent with K Love, and then became program director, music director, or program director, and then moved up to CEO when Dick Jenkins retired about 10 years ago. And I reached out to him about doing an interview right before he retired, and I figured, he's probably not wanting to do any more interviews because he's looking ahead, and his retirement was very close. But he said, yeah, and so he called, and we actually did the interview on phone. And we normally don't record the interview and transcribe it. We normally just send the person some questions, and they answer them and reply back. But in his case, he wanted to do it on the phone. So that was fun. It was always, that was one that sticks out in my mind. But yeah, everybody who's, has got something to say. I mean, people in Christian radio are, for the most part, I think, they realize that now after the pandemic, they've, I guess they always knew this, and we always knew that Christian radio is different. It's different than secular radio because of Jesus Christ, obviously.
Right.
But during the pandemic, I think it made that awareness new again, because people were looking for hope, and you get very little of it in secular radio. There's some people on secular radio can share hope with you, I suppose, but not like a Christian, in my opinion, not like Christian radio does. I mean, I had someone ask me years ago, actually, right when we started his air, if somebody had to be a Christian to be in Christian radio. Well, not really, I guess, but it makes all the difference. I think it would be pretty hard. It's like if you worked in secular radio and you work at a country music station, say, or a rock station, it helps if you kind of live the lifestyle.
Right.
It helps you relate to your audience better and like that. So with the pandemic and everything we've been through in the last couple of years, Christian radio stations are doing very well, because stations are basically supported by listener fundraising, month to month, and that kind of thing. But for the most part, I would say that the giving has stayed the same and gone up in some cases, where stations are reaching their goals sooner than in the past. I just heard from a station just yesterday in Corpus Christi, Texas, that had a 3-day goal to 3 days to reach their goal at whatever amount it was set, and they reached it in 2 days. So and you think, now in the middle of this and inflation and and all things going on in the world, but people need hope, and they want to hear it, and they can hear it on Christian radio, and the music, and in what the personalities have to say, and how they can connect with their listener.
So in 2020, with the COVID being around and everything, and the impact that it actually had on Christian music industry,
Mm-hmm.
and the cancellation of the concerts, how do you think the impact of radio actually helped the artist?
You mean during the pandemic when, I don't know that it did help the artists in regards to radio stations, because the ones that I know, and generally speaking, I mean, and they look forward to doing concerts and being out with the people and having artists come to town and supporting and with concerts and locally and with different artists. So that was pretty much stopped for the most part. And when I was talking about getting pictures and from radio stations and some of the labels who send pictures as well, I mean, it was very hard. They didn't have any. Here's our afternoon guy shoveling snow on our parking lot. Will you publish it? Sure. I mean, we don't have anything else. We want to show what radio's doing. But there was a good time. It's kind of changed now, but there was a good while where there wasn't much going on promotionally at Christian radio stations regarding artists being in town, because they just weren't touring and they weren't allowed to visit radio stations. But that's changing, and that's good for the most part. You're seeing things pick up again.
In a way, I believe the pandemic did help a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You see more Facebook Live broadcasters now than you've ever seen. I believe people got tired of their time and they wanted to start sharing the gospel, and they started doing that right there on Facebook Live.
Yeah, you do see a lot more of Facebook Live, and I don't think that's going to really let up. I mean, it's for the most part, it's not a hard thing to do. You have an internet connection, you use some software, get a couple microphones, and you start talking. But yeah, with the concerts and boys, the few of the concerts that I've been able to watch have been really impressive. Like for King and Country, they did one that I watched. This was over a year ago. I think it was closer to maybe 2 years ago now. Things like that. They're actually doing another one coming up in a few days that's going to benefit Convoy of Hope and their efforts to help people in Ukraine, refugees. And that's coming up. So yeah, you're going to hear a lot of that, and that's going to stay the course. My opinion is, I mean, I like to go to a concert when one comes to town. I just saw for King and Country a month ago or so, and Mercy Me's been here, Newsboys were here. There's always, nothing beats that to me. That's my opinion. But to get out there and see them in concert live.
For King and Country, it always does a very impressive performance.
Yeah, they do. There's some talented guys right there, Luke and Joel, and they're going to be around for a long time.
Yep,
I love them. Yeah,
I tell you, I've seen them in Carowinds in North Carolina.
Yeah,
and God just really began to use them.
Mm-hmm.
And they got down in the audience. One of them did with the drums, and I just thought that was cool.
Yeah, they really connect with the audience. I mean, it's a show. They're very visual, but the connection is still there. And I think when they talk, the gospel comes through loud and clear. Really enjoyed it.
So, what's one part that you look forward to sharing on his air, if you had to pick?
That I look forward to what again?
Sharing, like news or interviews, or what do you really look forward to sharing?
Oh, news is kind of our thing, like what's going on with the radio stations and the labels for that matter. But, so I spend the better part of my day reaching out to different program directors, air talent people that I know at radio, just checking, because people don't always think, we had so-and-so in town, or we took a picture, or hired a new personality last week, and I forgot to tell his air, like shame on you, but so I like to reach out to them, and they go, oh, by the way, we got a new morning show last week. Oh, okay. Things like that. Sometimes you just got to, have to go after it. I mean, yeah, we've been around 20 years and a lot of people just send us the information, which I appreciate. But in some cases, you got to keep after it and find out what's going on. I mean, hey, I don't care. You got a new receptionist. Let me know. I mean, come on. That receptionist needs to be recognized. The receptionist is an integral part of your radio station, right? I mean, that receptionist is important, as and so we want to know about it. In other words, what I'm saying is, I don't care what kind of news it is, big, small, however you look at it. Since we super serve Christian radio, so no matter what it is about what kind of news it is, who it regards, or send it off to us. And by the way, my email address is ted at hisair.net.
Well, Ted, how can we find out more about His Air and to follow more about what's coming up?
Well, I would say, visit us online. We're a digital trade publication, hisair.net. We try to update it, news, something happens right now. Sometimes you get a new news release at the craziest times. We'll post it just as soon as we can. So, always check on our website, hisair.net. And do that. If you want to subscribe to our newsletters, we do 2 a week normally, unless something special happens. If there's a big story, like we had a new program director announced yesterday at a radio station, we'll send out a news alert, like that. But we don't try to send too many newsletters if we don't have to, other than the 2 on Monday morning and Thursday morning. And you can subscribe for those on the website.
Are you on Instagram, Twitter, or any other platforms, or just Facebook? Or
Facebook and Twitter primarily, yeah. Facebook for the most part, and then the posts go to Twitter as well.
Well, thank
His
you.
Air.
Well, thank you so much, Ted, for coming on. I have enjoyed chatting with you. We got to do this again sometime.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it too, man. Good luck with your show on Facebook Live, Andrew, and you do a great job, and we'll keep watching.
All right. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.